everyone, I just wanted to showcase my Chrono Thorns build. It's not necessarily a build, but more of a cool defensive interaction that you can use in any build. It revolves around the use of ice armor, which also works with adonias with Pinnacle of Power. So Arctic armor, you can put damaging support gems on here. And when the enemy takes damage from your Arctic armor, it can trigger cast on ailments and invocation, and this will pretty much kill the enemies for you without you needing to press any buttons. So that is the main interaction. The other interaction is with Refutation. So Refutation is a buff. It lasts for about 5 seconds, and it is based off your total runic ward. So the more runic ward you have, the more stun threshold you're able to obtain. At the start of the skill, it has 50% of stun threshold, but when you quality it out, you're able to reduce that penalty down to 30%. After you spend about 60 runic ward, you will break even. So after that, you want to spend as much runic ward as possible to obtain more stun threshold. So the more stun threshold you have, the more runic ward you spend, the more stun threshold you will have. And so in order to obtain as much ward as possible, you want to have runic ward on some pieces of your gear. For me, I have runic ward on my gloves, on my chest piece, and on my boots. I also have reinforcement runes on my chest piece and on my boots. You can also get some more runic ward with the rune of howling. This sacrifices a portion of your life for more max runic ward. I'm also using rune of obsession. This allows your runic ward to generate faster. And because we aren't necessarily using ward as our life, we're just using ward as a resource. So we just need ward to generate as fast as possible, so that way when our reputation is ready to be used, our ward will be at full capacity. Because remember, the more ward you have, the more stun threshold you'll be able to obtain. Another way you can generate more ward is through the use of Remnants of Calgar. This also gives you ward every time you pick up one of these remnants. And the bonus about this is that it overcaps your ward up to half of what your amount of ward is. Another way you can also generate ward is through the use of Orlock Resolves. Whenever you press this flask, it will generate a portion of your max ward every second during its effect. That ward itself will not be enough stun threshold. So in order to get more stun threshold, you're gonna need a heavy belt. So Headhunter has increased stun threshold. You can also use Wastegate belt, also increases your stun threshold. Or you could just use an Ingenuity belt if you have good rings. Or Midnight Braid would also help with your tankiness as well, but doesn't quite help with your stun threshold. So we are also using some passives that give us some more stun threshold. So we have Abasement, we have Eldritch Will, Hollowed. So what these do is they convert a portion of our max shield into more stun threshold. We also have Brainy Carapace along with the travel notes here. You could also get self-mortification. This gives you some more stun threshold. Or you could put some points here into chakra stability with stun threshold as well. We also have a Megalomaniac with Unbending. So Unbending also gives you some more stun threshold every time you're hit, up to 100%. Essentially, the more stun threshold you have, the longer it will take for this meter to fill whenever you're being hit. When this bar gets filled up to 100%, you're gonna be heavy stunned and you're gonna be knocked down on the floor, and that's when you'll probably die. So you want to avoid getting this bar filled up. Okay, so we talked about ward, we talked about stun threshold. The next step is to talk about cooldown reduction. And so you can obtain another 40% cooldown reduction with Catal's Rejuvenation. When this is maxed out, it goes up to 40%. So every time you pick up a siphon element, you'll get a stack of Catal's Rejuvenation. You get 5% cooldown for each time you pick this up. You also obtain a 30% cooldown recovery rate. And Second Wind allows you to have 2 cooldowns running simultaneously. And because we're using Chronomancer, we can also pick Time Snap and Temporal Rift. Time Snap is what allows you to refresh your cooldowns instantaneously. We're also using cooldown recovery on our passive tree, which helps out. In addition of cooldown recovery, you also want skill effect duration with preservation and Blessing of the Moon. Blessing of the Moon, when this is stacked up, this gives you another 40% increased skill effect duration. So originally, Refutation only lasts for less than 5 seconds, but with our just in Hideout, we have a 10-second buff. So we don't even have Blessing of the Moon currently active, but if we did, this will go up even further. And the cooldown is only less than 10 seconds, but again, we don't have Catal's Rejuvenation and max dex, so our cooldown will be even faster. Not to mention, because we're a Chronomancer, we have access to Time Snap. So we can press Rejuvenation, wait 10 seconds, press Rejuvenation again, have another 10 seconds, press Time Snap, press Rejuvenation again, another 10 seconds, wait for that to run out, press 10 seconds again, Rejuvenation, Time Snap, Rejuvenation, and Rejuvenation. I keep calling it Rejuvenation, but it's Refutation. Sorry about that. So you can also get some more skill effect duration with Chronomancy here, but it takes about 6 points to travel to get there. But I believe that getting your stun threshold points is better rather than just the skill effect duration. But you can always experiment and try that out yourself. So besides having Refutation blocking all hits, we also have other defensive layers with Temporal Rift, allowing you to reset your mana and your resources back to what they were originally. And you also are able to obtain Guard with your Life Flask, turns your runic word into Guard. You're also able to obtain Guard via Morrigan's Insight. And what this does is that it consumes a freeze, but when it does that, it gives you 1600 Guard, and the buff lasts for about 8 seconds. It has a cooldown of 8 seconds, so it's able to keep being refreshed. So as long as there's enemies that get blown up by explosive transmutation, you're able to obtain Guard. It also gives you a little bit of Thorns damage, which is on theme for the build. Because explosive transmutation does all elements, we're able to use Commiserate, and what this does is when inflicting an ailment with a supported skill, you remove that ailment from yourself. Because explosive transmutation does all 3 ailments, we're able to remove freeze, shield, ignite, and shock from us. So this is another defensive benefit that we're able to automate with explosive transmutation. It also gives us Arbiter's Ignition, so we're able to keep this active on us since we're also using the minion. And the minion removes the cooldown penalty from Archon. The other defensive layers that we have is generating as much remnants as possible through the use of mana remnants, remnants of Calgar, siphon elements, as well as our frostbound, and are powered by Berisium. So the more remnants we're able to generate, the more mana we can obtain and pick up, and we recover 3% of our max mana every time we pick up a remnant. Since we're also using mind over matter, the more remnants we're able to pick up, we're able to keep our life pool pretty well topped off. And that's pretty much it for the build. You can always just opt to not use Temporal Rift and instead use Now and Again for more damage. You could also just use a different jewel slot if you don't want to use Controlled Metamorphosis. The only reason I have this is just so that I have access to Hollowed, Secrets of the Orb, which gives you another Frostbomb, and Invocated Echoes, which allows you to cast more spells, so spell invocation. But this isn't a requirement. You could just use any jewel you want. Right here on the top left, we're just using a From Nothing with Eldritch Battery. We have some notes here on Eldritch Battery. We have a Time Lost right here. It gives you more crit chance for spells and Magnitude of Ailments. I have a Megalomaniac of Harmonic Generator and Unbending. And down here we have Heart of the Well with gain as extra cold, lightning, and crit chance. Just note over here with Remnant Attraction, we're also be able to create additional remnants, and that is why we have this here. More remnants means more mana for your arcane remnants. We're also using some energy shield, just for the sake of increasing the stun threshold. If you don't want to have energy shield or care about the stun threshold at all, you can just use a chest piece that has more energy, and you can just turn that into Eldritch Battery, and you can get yourself another 2000 mana for your Archmage if you so choose to do so. So that is also an option.
You are truly a glutton